guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about borderline personality disorder. So it is now May 1st and May is Borderline Personality Disorder Awareness Month, or BPD Awareness Month for short. So what I thought I'd do is create a video once a week kind of talking about BPD and what it's like to live with it basically. I got diagnosed with BPD about a couple of years ago, so for this first video I thought I'd talk about my own journey with BPD and what it's like for me personally. If you don't know what BPD is, so borderline personality disorder is a condition that affects the way you think, the way you feel and the way you interact with other people. Symptoms include impulsive behaviours, fear of abandonment, emotional instability, and intense but unstable relationships with others. There's so much more to it as well. This kind of condition is very complicated and it's like a lot to wrap your head around. So I thought, like, obviously I'd create a video each week kind of talking about different aspects when it comes to BPD. But today I'm going to be talking about my journey with it. If you have any other questions about how I deal with it personally, feel free to drop a wee comment down below, or you can contact me on my social media pages. I was diagnosed in, I think it was about June or July in 2018, so about 2 years ago now. How it all kind of came about was I knew that there was something wasn't quite right going on with my mental health. The night that kind of determined for me that where I was going to go and look for help was we went out. A few people who I worked with, we were going out in Edinburgh for someone's 18th. Now my best friend at the time was organising this person's 18th. Went and got him like a sash and everything, like just organised a whole night. So we all went out. I got ready at another friend's house before we went out, which was fine, so I wasn't getting ready by myself. So we all met up in Edinburgh, went to Wetherspoons, and we all met there. So once I saw my best friend, I automatically went up to try and talk to her. Now obviously she's busy talking to the birthday boy because it's his night, it's all about him. So throughout the night I started to feel really sad, and at the same time I was kind of battling with my own head, thinking you shouldn't be feeling like this this night is not about you, this is his 18th, it's not about you, it's not about you, it's not about you. But I just kept feeling really sad. I ended up crying in a club. I wanted to go and have a drink. I wasn't drinking alcohol at this point, but I wanted to get a drink so badly just to kind of numb everything. The day after, I was just mentally exhausted because I'd went through so many emotions, I think, in like the one night. And I sat and thought, I went, this just isn't normal. This isn't right the way I'm feeling. And this was in May in 2018. So this was when I discovered BPD, because it was popping up on my Instagram that May, because I follow quite a lot of mental health accounts, it was popping up that May was BPD Awareness Month, and I was like, I've never heard of this, like let me look it up. So I looked it up, looked at the symptoms, and I automatically thought, that sounds exactly like me. Like I feel like I match like all of those symptoms. So then I decided I would make a doctor's appointment. So if you feel like you have any symptoms, please do not self-diagnose yourself with any mental illness, whether it be BPD or anything else. Do not self-diagnose yourself. Please go to a doctor so that they'll be able to do it properly. I went to the doctors. They referred me to a psychologist, I think, psychiatrist. I don't really know the difference, to be honest. So I had my appointment with my psychologist, and then we sat down and we were basically chatting about my childhood and chatting about how I react now, basically just everything. And that's where she told me that, and I said to her, I was like, I feel like I have BPD, I have borderline personality disorder, like I feel like I have it. And she said I did. And I think that was the best thing that's kind of happened, because since then I've been really working on myself and how to control it. BPD isn't something you can cure. You can't cure it, unfortunately. You can just learn how to learn how to deal with it, learn how to live with it. But you can do it. It's just learning how to control things, learning your triggers, learning how to kind of control your emotions, finding healthy ways to let your emotions out. So with borderline personality disorder, you're not born with it. It's something that is developed, and it starts off in your childhood. When it comes to my childhood, I never had a bad, like, I wouldn't say I had a bad childhood. I really didn't. My parents were amazing bringing me up. They were the best. I'm the youngest, so I'd always get spoiled. They treated me really well. They gave me everything that I needed. But growing up, it was always hot and cold when it came to affection. Both my parents were working when I was younger, so obviously they had other things going on, but there would be times where I would get really, really excited. Maybe I've drawn something and I really want to show them, and I'd get really excited over it. So I'd go and show them, and then they'd be really happy, and they'd be like, oh, well done, but that's so good, that's so good. And then there might be other times I would draw and come over to them and they'd just not be interested at all. It was inconsistent with the affection that I was given. I felt like I always had to be the centre of attention in every situation when I was little. Obviously, when you look at it as being a child, like loads of children like love affection and they love attention. But I think, like, thinking back to when I was little, I can realise the moment I kind of know it wasn't just normal childhood like attention seeking was one of my sisters came around the house with her dog, and everyone was giving the dog so much attention, and I was trying to show everyone maybe the drawings I'd done, or like a new dance move I'd came up with, or like the fact I can do the splits or something like that, just trying to show off, and they just weren't interested, and that really hurt me at the time. Obviously no one was intentionally trying to hurt me. They had no idea it would affect me in such a way. But then I remember I went into the kitchen and I was just crying. I was just so sad. I was just really upset over the fact I wasn't getting any kind of affection or attention at all. Also, when I was little and I was growing up, I would hang out with kids in my neighbourhood, in my street. I would always hang out with them. Some of them were a few years older than me, but we would always hang out, and I was always I was very bubbly. Like, I'm still quite bubbly, I'd say, but I was extremely bubbly as a child. I was always laughing. I was always just so happy, and I would laugh at everything. I would constantly be laughing at the tiniest little thing possible. Like, it could be something so stupid, and I'd just laugh. But the people I would hang about with would constantly tell me, oh, just stop laughing at everything, Louise. Like, there's no need. And that really hurt me. I came home and I would tell my mum, like, they keep telling me to stop laughing at everything. Like, do I laugh too much? And my mum would be like, oh no, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. But I would just constantly be told that it was an issue for my friends, and I always constantly felt like I was being annoying. So eventually I just stopped laughing at everything, which has had a massive impact on me now. When I started high school, that's when my mental health started kind of going downhill. My friends in high school, they were big drinkers. Like, they enjoyed a drink. Most of them did anyway. Some of them didn't, but most of them enjoyed going out and drinking. I was never a big drinker in high school. I think I hardly went out and drank alcohol with my friends. But whenever I did, I would I think the big reason I didn't do it was because I was scared I was going to get caught. But whenever I did go out and I would drink with my friends, it was mostly just to do it just because they were doing it. It was like one of those things, like what I thought like every teenager had to do. When I was about 14, I became best friends with this girl that was my friend for years. I'd known her ever since primary school. We grew up together and we became best friends when we were 14. Now this was like best friends, because you know how like you'd have your group of best friends, but you'd have that one best friend. That was us. So I was very close to her. We were pretty much inseparable. We would always spend time together. She was always at my house or I was at her house. We would always have sleepovers, like almost every single weekend. So I was extremely clingy towards her. When I was about 15, she went away out one weekend and she met a couple new friends. And then the following Monday at school, we were walking up the street for lunch. We would always walk up the street and go to like the local shops for lunchtime. So we're walking up and she was like, Louise, I really need to tell you something. And I was like, okay, what is it? And she told me that she has decided to take up smoking. Now, I always had a thing against smoking. I think I get it from my dad. My dad used to smoke as a kid, but he gave it up. And since then, he's been against it. My mum's never touched a cigarette in her life, so neither have I. So I've always had this thing against smoking. So when she told me, it broke my heart, and I got really upset about it. And since then, that's when she started hanging about with like the cooler people. She would drink all the time and start smoking, and I just felt like she was pushing me away because I wasn't into that kind of stuff. There was actually one time where I had invited her over for a sleepover, and I was getting so excited because I loved it when she stayed over at my house. I was getting so excited, and she told me she couldn't come and stay with me. She told me she couldn't stay with me because one of her friends, one of their grandparents were ill and they were getting really upset about it. Turns out she actually lied to me about it, because it sounds really bad, but I knew her Facebook password and I would log in and check her messages. Now I know like I really shouldn't have done that. Like I think back, I'm like, why would you do that? Because I was insecure and I was very self-conscious, and I was just, yeah. So I went and looked at her messages between this friend, and they were talking about my friend got invited out. My best friend got invited out by this other girl. So my best friend was like, oh, I'm meant to be staying at Louise's this Saturday, but it's probably going to be boring, as usual. And then her friend said, oh, well, just tell her like my grand's like ill and I'm really upset about it, and then just come out with us anyway. So she lied to me, and I got really upset when I found out that she was lying. It broke my heart, and it kind of just made me feel like, am I boring? I was just questioning myself. I was like, I must be boring. She never wants to come around to the house anymore. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I'm not like her other friends. Like, I can see why she doesn't want to spend time with me. There was a time in the past where I ended up going out with her ex-boyfriend for like 20 minutes and then I realised, oh shit, this is really bad, I shouldn't be doing this. If we were in an argument, she would always bring that up, and it would be like years later afterwards, but she would constantly talk about it. She would pick and choose her moments to talk to me. She would ignore my messages for hours or even days, and she wouldn't speak to me. She played with my feelings a lot. I met a couple really good friends through her, and I became very close to them, and they were the ones who actually sat and told me, you know, this person, she's manipulating like you, she's controlling you, she's really toxic, like you need to cut her out of your life. When I started to, my best friend turned around to me and said, you wouldn't even know these people if it wasn't for me. You should be grateful, you should be thanking me. How dare you hang about with my friends? She would constantly check my phone to make sure I wasn't messaging her boyfriend. She would just put me down a lot. Like, I don't think she realised she was doing it, but she would just always put me down. And I remember, I think this one guy we were friends with came up to us, and she had bigger boobs than me, okay, right, but he was like talking about them. He was like, came up and started talking about her boobs, And she was very proud of them. I mean, if you got it, flaunt it. I mean, and I think someone asked her like why are they like so big or something like that, something along those lines. And she said, oh, my fat just goes straight to my boobs. And then we were laughing, and then she said, and all Louise's fat goes straight to her bum. Because I always grew up with like wider hips than everybody else, so she would always kind of like tease and make slight fun of the fact that my hips were bigger than most people's that we knew, which made me feel very insecure. It made me feel very insecure, and I was very upset about the whole thing. So having a friend like that throughout high school was very traumatic for me. When we were finishing high school, she was going through a lot of mental health stuff as well. Obviously I was there for her, and I tried to support her as much as I could, but it got to a point where we both kind of spoke to each other, and we were like, you know what, I don't think we can be close friends. We're both too different, and we actually left things on like a really good note. We both realised we're so different, and we were like, okay, we can't, let's just not be friends. And then we just said, but if you do need somebody to talk to, I am here. Don't think I'm just never going to speak to you again. So we left things on a good note, and we both left high school, and she's actually, I think she's doing alright for herself. She has a child now, who is adorable. But I've seen her a couple of times, and we've just chatted, and we keep meaning to actually meet up for a proper catch up. So she's changed since high school. So because of all the things I dealt with in the past, with the inconsistent affection, the manipulation I went through, the toxicity of friendships, that has kind of it's really shaped me into who I am now, and that is what developed my BPD. So now I feel things probably a bit more. I feel things more intensely than the average person. So my BPD now, how am I coping with it? Since being diagnosed, I have been able to really kind of get to know my BPD. I've learned my triggers. I've learned how to try and control my emotions, and how to really let them out in a healthy way. My biggest emotion that I'm finally kind of learning how to handle is anger. I'm finally figuring out ways to really let out my anger in a healthy way. I've recently realised that boxing things out really helps get my anger out. My boyfriend he lets me just like kind of punch his hands when I'm really angry, and eventually it gets the anger out. I start crying, and then I just want to go on a cuddle, and then I feel fine. So I'm doing better. I'm figuring out what helps me cope with things, figuring out my coping mechanisms, my healthy ones. Trying not to slip back into like old habits. Sometimes when I tell people the reasons why I do things, or maybe like if I'm doing something to cope with a situation, people will question it, because they'll think of it as an unhealthy way to cope, or they'll think of it as just a really bad way to deal with a situation. But to me it makes sense, and to me it's what helps with my head. It helps me function. It's just I'm figuring myself out. It's taken a long time, but I'm finally getting there. I'm just so grateful to have my boyfriend. He has been the absolute best through this whole thing. He has seen me through like ups and downs. He's seen me in my absolute ugliest points, and I don't know how he deals with me. Because with BPD, there's a lot, you can have really unstable relationships just because of the way that you react, and the way that just because of like your emotional instability. A lot of people think it's far too much to handle, and they'll leave you. But he's used to it by now. he's been really, really supportive, which I'm so grateful for, because if I didn't have him, I genuinely don't know what I'd be doing, to be honest. But once I was diagnosed with BPD, that's when he started doing his research. He started researching it. He started researching how to help someone with BPD, which I'm so grateful for. I genuinely wish that everyone would do that. I wish that everyone would research it, just to kind of get a slight understanding of how my head works. I have a really good support system, so that's what's been helping me through a lot of it. But future videos I'm going to be doing from now is I'm going to do a video about favourite person, favourite people, favourite person. I'm going to do a video about having a favourite person. Splitting is going to be in that video as well, because they're both really quite linked. I'm going to do another video on emotions, more specifically anger. And if you guys have any other BPD related video ideas for me, please drop them in the comments below. I'd really love to I really want to raise so much awareness for this, because it's such a complicated mental illness. It has so much stigma around it. People think that us people that have BPD, we're often seen as manipulative or attention seekers, or we're constantly overreacting, when there's just so much more to it than that. It's not a nice condition to have. It's really, really not. I will be continuing a little bit of my story in my favourite persons video, so I'll be discussing my favourite person, or well, now not my favourite person anymore. So I'll be discussing that, and how our relationship went, and how I stopped seeing them as my favourite person, how I kind of got over that. Hope you guys like this video. I hope you are enjoying. Hope you're going to enjoy these little like mental health little talks. I think I might do this as like a regular thing. But thank you so much for watching. Be sure to go follow me on all my social medias. They are at Louise Artistry. I do have a fitness page as well, where I do post quite a bit about mental health and physical fitness, which is Fit With. I'll leave all the links in the description below. But thank you so much for watching, guys, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.